The Green Suiters podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, head over to patreon.com/Green Suiters podcast. Before getting into this episode, we'd like to thank the following new patrons for pledging at the $3 tier or above: Hobie Ponting, Todd Hickson, and Leather by Dragonfly. Thank you for your support. Now, on to the show.
Is anybody else as excited as I am about Workbench Con?
I am.
What's Workbench Con?
It's the thing that you're going to.
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm
Ben?
really excited.
Well, in case the people that are listening to this don't know, all three of us together are going to be going to Workbench Con, and it is going to be a fantastic time.
It will be good.
A lot of beer. Although, Ben, I don't know if they sell White Claw at the hotel bar.
Well, then I'm not going.
Dang it.
So the two of you...
You could probably pick some up.
Yeah, you could just walk around with a backpack with some ice in it.
Some
Yeti makes
sororities
backpacks
in the area
now.
that I could go get some from.
Yeah.
Some mom groups probably.
Yeti does make a cooler backpack now, so we could load that thing up. Actually, you know what? That's actually a really good idea because the booze at the hotels are really expensive.
Really?
It's like,
oh yeah, always.
Oh yeah, I mean anywhere, anything like that, of course.
Yeah.
Boy, when I'm at Workbench Con, I get really parched, and that's when I reach for White Claw.
What?
Nice. We're gonna have to put that on a YouTube short.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Tonight's episode is sponsored by White Claw.
And this is like the third episode that they sponsored, so we really appreciate that they're such a part of our show.
They don't pay us; they just send us a bunch of cases of strawberry White Claw. So good.
It's the beverage sponsored by soccer moms everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
sorry, Ben.
I've been really excited about this particular episode. Anytime we do the podcast, I'm really excited. But looking at all the questions that we have for this week, it's gonna be a really good show, and I actually kind of dig this format. But
I do too. I really like doing the Q&A. However, I think it's good that we space it out like we had talked about. Yeah.
It's not something that
because what I've noticed. Yeah. What I've noticed on all the other podcasts that answer questions every 2 or 3 episodes, you hear the same question again.
Yeah.
And so I think spacing it out is good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Builds anticipation.
It does.
Oh.
It does. And I really do want us to do a weekly show.
But
I don't know. I need...
How weekly?
By weekly, he means every other week.
Oh, okay.
No, we get it, Ben.
Because
I think we had talked about it. Let's do 10 episodes first and then see how we're going.
Yeah. Well, that'll bring us to the end of the year, so. But no, like multiple times throughout the week, I'm like, man, I really wish we were doing the podcast this week.
Yeah.
Just because I like talking to you guys about anything and everything that we talk about,
Well, that's not why I enjoy it, because I don't like talking to you at all.
That's not what you said in your love letter.
I just spent 5 hours this weekend with Jason in the car. I talked him to death, I think.
Oh wait,
I don't know if I let you speak.
You're his new assistant, aren't you, Sedge?
Yes, I'm the new Bent's woodworking intern.
Did you see the post I did?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, I was like,
take my tools to your car. I don't need them.
Go turn on the air conditioning so it's nice and cool for me when I'm done. Have the heated seats turned on as well.
72 degrees exactly.
Yeah. Are we going to cover what we did? I think if we do it, we should probably just kind of breeze through it real quick, because I know there's no way we're going to be able to get to all the questions, and some of them are kind of goofy.
Yeah.
But I think we did what? We each picked 3 from the list that we'll discuss, and hopefully we'll get through all of those.
And and that's only half of the questions that we have. So,
can I bring something up real quick since this is the beginning? So I put a little query out on my Instagram for people to submit questions, and I lost access to a bunch of them for some reason. It's a new thing with stories. But there was one specifically that I remembered, and it had to do with the audio. And it was like, are you guys going to, fix your audio? I love you guys, but the podcast has been hard to listen to or whatever, right? And I just wanted to take an opportunity to be like, we completely understand. We've identified it, and we're just working to get better each time. And this is, so we understand, but like, it's just like any other podcast, There's going to be growing pains in the beginning. We're going to get it all figured out, hashed out. And hopefully by the time this one comes out, because we've already figured out a ton of things that, me specifically, that I was doing wrong in terms of settings and stuff. So hopefully, we're working to get it done. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody out there. Just give us some time, guys. We're only human.
Well, out of everything that we talk about post show, audio is always the thing that we talk about, and that is, because really, when it comes to a podcast, that's what that's your main driving point of quality is the audio, and so we're constantly looking at what we can do. Like, I just bought this huge boom arm for my mic so that it isolates my audio, and there's more things that we're gonna get as we continue to get more patrons. I want to invest in better audio equipment, whether that's pop screens for the mics or, whatever it is that we need to make the show better. That's what I want, our Patreon funds to go towards besides our Ferraris and G5 jets. So
right. I was going to say is once our Ferraris and jets are paid off. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
and Sedge's Pica.
So did you go through your archives and find it? Because that's how I found mine. You go to settings and go to archives.
Yes, I can find them, but you used to be able to still go in and see the feedback from them. But on every single one of my stories in the archive, it doesn't give me that option. So anything that had happened, I can't see who watched them. I can't see any of that stuff once they go into the archive. So I was able to access the story. I just wasn't able to pull up the answers to the questions. And the only ones I was able to salvage... Yeah. The only ones I was able to salvage were the ones that were still in my notifications. So most of the people wrote them back in, but that was just one that I specifically remember that did not get written back in. So I apologize. I can't remember who it was that wrote that, but message received. We are working through it, and I think it's getting better every time. So, again, just be patient.
Yeah, and that's, and that's something that I would want to know what episode are they referring to? Because if it's like the first one, well, obviously the audio wasn't that great, and neither was the second one was okay, but third one was not good either. But
it would have been 1 through 4, yeah, because 5 isn't out yet. But yeah. At the end of the day, we get it. We know, it's getting better. This is just, doing a podcast is completely different from me going out and doing a voiceover for a YouTube video, or me using a completely different microphone setup for my videos that I'm trying to teach things in the shop. It's just, those are things that I've figured out because I've done it so many times. This is just a whole nother beast.
Yeah. It's just it's a new thing for us to learn.
Yeah. Eventually it'll be really good. So we appreciate the feedback we've been getting from everybody, but we'll just leave it at that. So, do you want to real briefly discuss what we've been doing over the last week or so, or?
Yeah. So what have you been up to the last 2 weeks?
Nicole and Leo are now home.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrapping up. I was doing a lot more YouTube stuff. I've been doing a video a week. All of my analytics and everything are starting to go back up to the days of old, which is fantastic. And I'm really trying to push hard for the rest of the year on YouTube. I was able to get the finish applied to the table and delivered with my shop assistant, Brian Sedgley. Who is nice enough intern who's nice enough not only to go with me but also give me a ride because the table fit in the back of the vehicle. So I do appreciate that, Sedge. And even though I made a funny post about you being my intern and good work is hard to find, you did okay. So
Thank you so much. Coming in from you, that means absolutely everything, Jason.
And I said, you just keep trying, and I just have this feeling that maybe there's this big international tool company that's looking for someone just like you.
Well, I'll tell you, you guys are so much older than me. Someday when I grow up, I want to be like you guys.
Well, that's impossible.
Sedge, I'm pretty sure if you added mine and Ben's age together, we still wouldn't be older than you.
That ain't right.
I'm just kidding. You're not that old.
But you're old.
But not far off.
Oh my God.
But anyways, that's pretty much that's been the extent of mine. Just a lot of finishing and getting that table out of here. They were very, very, very happy with the results. And I mean, I was too. I think it turned out great. I'm just ready to get started on the next project. So,
are you going to keep using Target finishes?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Sedge, what did you think of the finish, Sedge?
It was cool. I liked it. It looked when I first Jason did the video on the samples, and it came out great. But boy, when you see him in person, and I was like looking at a different angle, right, Jace?
Yes.
And
you're
then
shorter?
you said, no. And then
because of the
came
light
around,
reflection.
It's the way the light was raking on it. And it popped, and that Target stuff looked pretty good.
Yeah.
They all looked good.
Yeah.
Yes, the only one that I wasn't in love with was the Varathane with nothing underneath it. The Varathane with sealer underneath it, I think, looked okay. But the straight Varathane definitely did give that milky look. At the end of the day, the thing I was most impressed with was how well it leveled out.
Oh.
It was the easiest finish I've ever sprayed.
And how durable it was to forks on chips.
Yeah, so funny story about that, Ben. I didn't tell you this, right?
No.
So
this was beautiful.
now this table was obviously not for me, and originally I was going to use Rubio, but then I was like, you know what? With the kids, they were very adamant about having it be something a little bit more durable. I'm going to try something else out. Hence, I found Target Coatings. Was really impressed with their finish. Decided to use that. Thing turned out phenomenal. I mean, it looked fantastic. Show up, drop it off, put everything together. We get it in there. She comes home, sees it, loves it. Her kids are with her. Her kids start sitting at the table, and her son was like with these two little like Lego toys, is like sitting at one end of the table, and I'm at the other end, and he's like banging these things on it. And even me, I was sitting there like, oh my God, it's brand new. You know, like this kid is gonna
dying.
deck this.
Dying.
They were so nice. They ended up getting us barbecue, and we had some barbecue before we hit the road again. And while we're sitting there, her son and daughter, their son and daughter, was sitting at the table, and they have these like rubber silicone mats that they put underneath the plates and stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, he had like some chips and some pulled pork or whatever, mac and cheese, something like that, on a paper plate, and he had a fork, and he's sitting there and he's smashing his fork down into the plate. And we're all like kind of laughing and joking about it. And the whole time she was over there and like getting ready to move it off. And I'm like, oh my, I mean, I'm not talking like he was just like tapping it. Like, no, I mean, he was like full on,
jamming.
like I'm stabbing somebody. So she removes it and she looks down and sees that there was one little spot where one of the prongs actually, went into the finish, and it put a little dent in it. And you could just tell it was like getting a brand new car, and you like drive it off the lot, and you like stop at the grocery store on your way home, and somebody dings your door the day you bought it. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her and I was just like, hey, it happened. It's done. It's over with. Now you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yep.
But the whole time I'm just like, I'm cringing because I'm like, oh, it's brand new,
I was dying inside. I was
Good
like,
thing you picked that finish then.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a great finish. Like I said, you will 100% see me using it again. They're actually going to send me some more samples for the future comparison videos that I do. I'm going to get some of their polyurethane, some of their lacquer, some of their other stuff. So And then I'm actually going to branch out and find some other finishes.
That's awesome.
I think I might add like General Finishes High Performance in there, just because that's their water-based polyurethane. So yeah, I think it'll be good. And then later on down the road, so a comment that I got over the past couple of weeks on that finish comparison video was actually, it would have been really nice to see a comparison on the durability. And I'm sitting there thinking in my head like, excuse me, yeah, it would. Except you have to let the finishes cure first. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
at least a week.
I understand that. It would have been great to do that, but why would I do a durability test when I just applied it? But I do have things planned for that in the future because
You still have the
like
samples.
right here, here's the samples. And by the time I do a durability, I'd actually figure out a good way to go about doing a durability test.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they'll be fully cured and I can do a test.
What about you, Sedge?
Anyways.
What have you been up to?
I should have been thinking of this when you.
Well, I can go while you think.
Okay, you go.
So I finished up Jen's door, and it turned out really well. I still have to install it, but so it's currently wrapped in my basement, ready to get in the back of my car and go. But she was really happy with it. She saw it whenever she came here last weekend, and that's pretty much been it. I have some other little side projects that I've been kind of piddling away with here and there, but I just finished the door last Friday, so just looking on for the next one. And, just like I said at the top, waiting for that Shaper Origin to come in tomorrow. And
Ooh, fancy.
I'm so excited for that thing to come in. Can't wait to play with it. I have a lot of ideas that I've been wanting to, or that I've been saving until I get it. And I'm just really looking forward to getting that thing in my hands and learning it. And I can't wait to not use it just like Jason with his CNC.
Yep.
No, I'm going to use it.
I use it every once in a while.
I'm so pumped. I can't wait to use it.
Cool.
Well, what about you, Ben?
What? I just said what I was doing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
Wow.
All right, Sedge.
I'm hilarious.
I just been weekends. I've been working in the shop, just still organizing. I've done a few videos on sharpening. This is going to dovetail really nice into some of the questions we had, because I've always sharpened, and I've done videos on Sedge Tool about sharpening because everybody asked me about it, and I've always done it flat. And recently, I've always sniffed around it, and I finally got a Tormac T8, and I've been working with it most of the summer. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm pretty impressed by this system, and I'm going to shoot some video on that. It's such a well thought out system, just like another company I know. And
DeWalt?
That's a dry sharpening system, right? The
no,
Tormac?
it's a wet, slow grinding system, and it's fantastic. So when I get
Another thing I used to do in high school.
when I get when I get a hand plane blade and I get a nick in it, sharpening it flat, taking out that nick and grinding it down takes a while. So a typical bench grinder, you got to grind it out. A typical bench, and it's a very difficult process for me. And a typical bench grinder spins at about 3,400 RPM, 6-inch. This is a wet grindstone spinning in a trough of water, and it spins at 100 RPM. And the tool rest and all the jigs that go with it are phenomenal. So there's a lot. I'm going to be shooting quite a few videos on the system because I like it.
So much quicker than just using a regular whetstone and
I think
honing and guiding.
I've taught a lot of people how to sharpen sandpaper on glass or sandpaper on solid surface or dead flat surface. Mm-hmm. And I think I could teach somebody to get a more consistent bevel, with the Tormac system versus teaching somebody how to freehand it like I do. I don't use honing guides. I think they're a little cumbersome to use sometimes. With this system, it's easy. It's cool. And I'm going to be sharpening all kinds of stuff. In other words, sharpening the scrub plane blade, which has got a very convex shape. Convex? Yeah, convex shape. It's hard to sharpen on a flat. Here, it's so wicked easy. So, I'm liking it. I can camber a blade for my bench planes really easy with it. And I'll be teaching Big D about this through the course of the fall and winter, because he wants to learn how to sharpen some of the stuff that he's been acquiring. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And
I still need to bring my kitchen knives over there so you can sharpen those.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what's really cool is at work, where I work during the day, I've been testing all these brand new prototype tools that are coming out. That's what I've been really busy with that. Pause. Ben's going, shaking his head. Pause. I'm just kidding. No, I've just been really busy.
Unfortunately, I can't say anything about him, though. Sorry. I can't say anything.
On the weekend, I've been interning at Bent's Woodworking. So, just...
Hey, me too.
Yeah, Speaking of that, you need to get over here again this weekend and clean my damn shop up.
Sir, yes, sir.
Hey, before we get into the questions, I really want to share this. I know it has nothing to do with woodworking, but it has like changed my life, and that is the Peloton.
Oh yeah, sorry, post.
I'm dead serious. I am obsessed with this thing. It is the best. It is the best thing. I feel great. I've had it for 7 days now. I've ridden it 6 days, and the only reason I didn't ride it that other day is because of work. But like I just want to ride it every day. Like it's not even a question, and it is fantastic. It is incredible. I just want to share that because I'm super excited about it. Like it is transforming the way that I feel and think about things, and this is exactly what I needed. But for everybody in the audience out there, if you've ever wondered, I know 100% why people love it so much, but I am obsessed with this thing. It is fantastic. That's all I wanted to say.
Good, because it wasn't going to ask anything else about it.
Peloton is not a sponsor of this podcast, although they should.
White Claw is a sponsor.
Which
all
is
right,
what I
so
drank after I got off of the Peloton.
Thank you for that. All right, so we are getting into this, and if you, the listener or watcher, depending on where you're consuming this, if you want to have your question read on the air or on the show, the best way that you can do that is by being a patron. We go anytime we get these community-sponsored events or episodes. We go to Patreon first. We ask our patrons, what questions that they want to have. So patrons get priority, and then after that, the rest of the community gets priority. So it's looking like episode 12 will be the next community sponsored show. And if you want to guarantee to get your question answered on the show, become a patron. It's not that hard. But
or send me $100
in unmarked bills.
I'll make sure it gets read.
Untraceable.
Yeah.
Hey, Sedge, did you give Jason that $100?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. All right. So, Sedge, why don't you go ahead and kick it away with our first patron ask question.
Yep. It's Patrick at LBD, so I think I know who that is. That's Leather by Dragonfly, right?
That's right.
He's a Patreon. Okay. That's so cool, Patrick. How often and what type of tool maintenance do you guys do? Another e.g. Ergo, thank you. Tool sharpening, chisels, planes, etc. Okay.
So hand tools primarily is what he's asking.
Yeah. I sharpen my chisels. Boy, that's a tough question. When they need it, and I always say I'm setting up for the day, and I know I got a lot of chiseling to do. I'll see the chisels, and I'll go, and I'll just do a quick test on some end grain maple, and if it's not, leaving a nice surface. Same thing with, I'll do a couple of swipes, like my Lee Nielsen 4.5 I use almost all the time. And I'll just, I'll take that and I'll just make a couple swipes. And if I see like a trail in there, I know I need to sharpen it, or that means there's a nick. But I maintain my chisels a lot with just a strop and some rouge.
Mm-hmm.
And this is difficult because I don't know if the listener or the viewer understands all the little nuances to hand tools, and I apologize. Sometimes I don't want to talk over, but I think Patrick knows what a strop is and everything, and what rouge is. It's just a piece of leather and the rouge is like a very
compound.
fine compound.
He may not know what it means because he is a Marine.
Patrick, you don't eat the rouge. You don't. It's not like a crayon. You don't chew it.
And there's another question down below, but we're gonna get to it. It's about tool maintenance, and I don't know if it's about power tool or hand tool.
What?
When it comes to maintenance on hand tools like hand planes and chisels, that's just eyeballing it, making sure there's no rust or whatever. I use camellia oil to rub down the planes when I put them away. I have a sock that's impregnated with camellia oil. I use other lubricants like PG 2000, but that's hand tool stuff and chisels.
How did you impregnate it with the oil?
Just an old sock, cotton sock. What? It's impregnated. It's got a lot in it.
Is it
come on, guys.
Is it like
you
a
sure
happy
it's oil?
sock or a sad one?
As I said that word earlier, I wasn't like looking at
the minute you said that, Ben and I both. Yeah, sure. It's oil. Yeah, that's what they all say.
I'm not drinking White Claw here.
Is oil supposed to be crusty like this?
That ain't right.
I'm fairly certain that Ben and I are not going to be able to add anything to that conversation. In terms of the hand tools.
If something's ever dull, I just buy a new one. Isn't that what you do, Jason?
Exactly, 100%.
Jason brings it up here to me so I could sharpen it for him.
Well, that was going to be the only thing that I recommended. So, like for me, if I'm trying to use a chisel and it's just not cutting it, then I'm going to sharpen it. But again, I don't use them enough to really ever have to do that. And then I would just bring them up to your shop, where then you taught me how to sharpen using sandpaper, and now I can do it. But let's segue into that second part, which I believe was from Lidl.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Lido 617. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Michael.
Off Instagram.
Yes, he's a great dude. He asked a similar question.
Yeah. Yeah, I met him in Providence, and he's a Boston firefighter. He's wicked cool.
And he's in the Army National Guard.
Now, I guess we'll segue into that.
So that was the hand tool side. Now we'll go in the other side.
Okay, so he wrote here, tool maintenance, squaring fences, that kind of stuff. Okay, first and foremost, a good machinist square, if you're squaring everything, right? And I use setup blocks. I use really small squares. I get this little Pinnacle one, which was originally made for woodcraft by woodpeckers. It's a great one for testing. Oh God, this is tough. I've always double checked. Like if on my table saw, when I set it at 90, I have that little square right there and I check it at 90. Even though my gauge is saying 90, I always verify. Same thing with my fence. I'm always checking my fence if it's 90. That's just simple things. And if I'm setting an angle, I don't go by the scale underneath. Okay? I have setup blocks that I made out of starboard years ago, and I got one at 22.5, one at 45, one at 30 degrees, and I set it to my blade to my table. I always verify things with setup blocks and gauge blocks. Everybody wants to know, when it used to come to tool maintenance on, say, a table saw, and we could go on and on and on and on every machine here in my shop, but when it comes to like a table saw, I think that's what everybody is wondering about maintaining. Like, I don't have a cast iron top, I have an aluminum top, but I still put a coat of wax on it, and the wax I use I know you can't see this, listeners, but I'm going to put it up here, is this stuff I get, I think at Woodcraft. It's called Renaissance Wax. And a little is a lot. And yes, I use an old sock.
A clean sock, hopefully.
An old sock, and I buff it into the top and then buff it off with a clean rag. And that works wonders. And I put some on the fence. The fence is also aluminum extrusion, and it works like a champ. If I find hesitation in things, I always will stop and maybe apply a little more wax. It makes everything smoother. And that goes for, I don't have any more cast iron in here except for my drill press, the bottom table, and my lathe bed. But those all got Renaissance wax on them, and they don't oxidize. I'm trying to think. I'm just looking around. I always will say this, and I said it earlier, get yourself a good machinist square. And as I was going through these questions, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a short on YouTube on Sedge Tool, how to making sure your square is square. Because there's a lot of times I've gone to people's shops and said, my saw's out of square and everything, and I grab this square and I go, well, let's start with your benchmark. Your square is your square. And it's so easy to check. You guys know how to do that, don't you?
Yeah, mark a line.
Yeah, mark a line. It's easy. But a lot of people don't know that, so I'm going to do a short on it this weekend.
Nice.
What else can I saw something recently, and I'm going to talk. This is one that kind of bothered me. I saw a video on YouTube, and somebody was showing how to set your miter, how to test your fence on your table saw with your miter gauge slot. Emphasis, because I have it here. I have a dial indicator and with a bar that I use, and I put a dead flat plate on I used to do this on my Powermatic 66. You need to make sure that your blade, not fence, is parallel. Okay, you mark one tooth and you bring your dial indicator back here. You move it in your slot on your miter gauge slot, and that should be perfectly parallel. Your fence, which they were showing in the video, they were doing the same thing, and that's a no-no.
No.
That is a recipe for kickback. At the front of the blade, the fence, in your miter gauge slot, now we're talking about the fence, okay? When you bring it back to the back of the fence, it should be kicked out at least 128th.
Yeah.
It should never be perfectly parallel, because that
You don't want to pinch.
You do not want it to pinch. If it's perfectly parallel, you're setting yourself up.
Yeah.
It should be kicked out at least 128th.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody doing that setup, and I was just like, yeah, it's not that it's wrong. It's just, I understand where their point's coming from, but I don't think they've ever been in that situation. Because that's what I was taught by Biesmeyer Fence 30 years ago. It should be kicked out.
Yep.
So what about you, Jason? What kind of maintenance do you do on your shop or in your tools and stuff?
So I already covered the hand tool thing. For me, it's quite easy. Like the only time I'm checking square is if I ever move something out of square. There's only two instances: if I move something out of square and then I need to move it back, or if I cut something and I realize a problem. Period.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it. There's no reason to worry about it. There's no reason to check every single time. For me, I always do tests anyways. Like if I'm getting ready to cut something and I'm cutting multiple, I will always cut a test and make sure everything is good first. That's my opportunity to find out if something's wrong. If something's wrong, I'll adjust it. In terms of maintenance, when I feel like the tool needs it, I was just looking at some of my Festool stuff. It's been collecting dust in some of the hard to reach places, and I just went through and cleaned like the domino and the jigsaw and the track saw and all that other stuff. The table saw, if I open it up and it looks like there's a bunch of dust or it looks like it's not collecting dust effectively, I will then at that point go ahead and clean it out. And cast iron surfaces, I regularly spray down with glide coat or slick coat or T9 bow shield or something. But if there's not a need for it, I don't do it. I don't get wrapped around the axle. If I notice a problem, I'll correct it. Otherwise, I am not one of those people who is, I'm getting ready to start a new project. I better do maintenance on every one of my tools and check square for everything, because it's not an issue until it's an issue. So that's my answer.
Yeah, and that's how I am. I guess the only time that I will check the equipment is whenever I first set it up, which in my case it's kind of rare because literally everything I own is Festool.
Weird flex.
But yeah, only if there's a problem, and I check my work more than I check my tools. Just like you, Jason. Like, I only need to check everything if I see that there's now a problem. And then like with, cleaning blades and stuff, like I need to clean my general purpose blade for my track saw, but that's just because I haven't cleaned it in a while. But it's very much as needed, or if I drop something or bump up against it, or just like you said, I change a fence from 90 to 45 and I go back. That's the only time I do it.
Right.
But I would say that I keep my shop clean more. Like, I spend more time cleaning my shop and keeping it organized. Like, that's my maintenance. Keep it clean, keep it organized above everything else. And I probably spend more time doing that than anything else.
I got one more point that I teach everybody, because it doesn't matter if it's a circular saw blade or a table saw blade or whatever. A lot of people will say, I got to go have my blade sharpened. I tell everybody, why don't you clean it first? Because cleaning a table saw blade and like a track saw blade, that's some unbelievable maintenance you can do, because if you feel like it's sluggish a little or you're getting some kind of burning, a lot of people just go out and buy a new blade or go and get it sharpened.
Yeah.
No, just I take it out, throw some crud cutter on there, use a toothbrush, work it in, and and I just clean it off, wash it off, and I put this stuff on. It's called Dry Lube by PB Blaster. I'm not
Teflon.
sponsored by these guys. It's not. It's Teflon, but there's no silicone in it, and this stuff is wicked. I'm a total believer in this stuff. I love it. So
That's
I
awesome.
just cleaning blades. It's just simple to do, and it's like you got a whole new blade. It's just build up a pitch.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool.
All right,
That
Jason.
happens. Do you want me to go next?
Yeah.
Okay, so my first one, because I know we'll all at least get to answer two, so I'm trying to pick which one I want to answer and maybe not get to one. But so my first one's going to be from @Lakeshore_Woodworks on Instagram. And I thought this would be a really good one. And it says, do you prefer face frame or frameless cabinets? And then the second question is overlay or inset drawer and door faces. So I'll answer it by saying my favorite style of cabinets to build is frameless. I think the best looking frameless cabinets have inset doors and drawer fronts, but they're probably the most difficult to ensure that they're just right, because so much relies on the reveal. So typically when I'm doing frameless cabinets, I will do overlay, but I like frameless over face frame. I just like the sleekness. I like the modernness of the cabinet construction, and I also like to not have to worry about building face frames. I feel like the hinge installation and everything else is just a little bit easier when you're doing frameless cabinets. There's a lot less involved because you're not trying to compensate for anything with a face frame. They're the most finicky. I don't know if you guys would agree with me on that. Frameless cabinets are the one cabinet that it is the most important for it to be as square as possible as opposed to a face frame, because you can correct a lot of unsquareness with a face frame. Or I know Sedge will talk about, he'll talk about like, shoving it into a corner and bending it, which is completely true. But inset on frameless, I have found, is the most difficult to get just right. Not impossible by any means. My miter saw station right behind me, I actually went with frameless inset everything. And I think that looks the cleanest. I think it looks fantastic. But next to that, I would definitely say frameless with overlay. So that's my answer. Ben?
I would say frameless cabinets, just for the reason that you just said, Jason. I From an aesthetic perspective, I like frameless cabinets better. And I have a mix of frameless and frame cabinets in my house. And the frame cabinets, the hinge hardware tends to strip out more than the frameless.
Absolutely.
Because typically with the frameless cabinets, you have more surface area that goes into that carcass for the hardware versus a hinge hardware that on a frame cabinet that clips into that frame face. At least the like I said, the ones that are in my house. But yeah, you're right. Like it is, I think it's maybe a little bit more of a mark of someone that builds with precision, because you do have to worry about the reveal. You do need to worry about that edge of the carcass is going to be nice and square, or at least in the reveal it will be. But yeah, I like the simple look of frameless cabinets. And
But Sedge, before you answer that, I'm sorry, Ben, to cut you off. No, you just brought up a good point, and I just wanted to clarify something. When it comes to the frameless cabinet with inset, if your box is perfectly square, then I actually find that inset doors and drawer fronts are easier. It's when it's slightly out of square, that's when it's the hardest to master. So I just wanted to clarify that. I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah. And then with drawers, I really don't like overlay. All of my all the drawers that I've made have all been inset, and it's for the same reason, because I like the look of the reveal, but I also like the clean look of whenever the drawer is closed. Depending if you have a handle or not, it's a really clean, just a really clean look. Yeah. I don't know. Anytime I see an overlay drawer, I just think of the 90s.
Time to drop the hammer. You ready?
Let's
Frameless with full overlay, period. And when you do drawer fronts, when you do inset, you can't do waterfall veneer. It doesn't have continuation.
That's a very good point.
And that is a mark of craftsmanship. When you can match that veneer and waterfall it down, it is freaking gorgeous. And I love full overlay, and you can bend a cabinet into a corner, and you can adjust that reveal absolutely perfect with the hinge. So that's why I like.
Yeah, well, the reveal on full overlay isn't nearly as difficult as it is with a.
It's a great way to make cabinets. So when we were
that's a
selling
really good
cabinets,
point, though.
Mikey,
You were talking about the waterfall. That's a very good point.
When Mikey and I were selling cabinets in Fort Lauderdale, and we were Mikey, I'll never forget the first time Mikey's in the house with me, and he goes, "Hey, do you want a face frame or frameless?" I went, "Shut up! They don't know the difference." The only thing for me, the only thing a customer looks at is the door fronts and drawer fronts. That's what they notice. They don't know what a face frame cabinet is. They don't know what a frameless is. They also think hardware is the knobs and pulls. They're right, but they don't understand, as a cabinet maker, the hardware is the drawer slides and the hinges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves and when you sell a kitchen, you sell the soft close, baby, because everybody loves soft close. Mm-hmm. So I love the look of full waterfalling of veneer on drawer fronts, full overlay, and a perfect 2mm reveal in between the drawers. It just, a customer will look at that, or I look at it. I have it in my house, and I look at it and I go, "Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's just the way it looks. It's just a continuation of that grain." So
my miter saw station, I did the inset because I used plywood, but I also did match the grain because I just cut out one panel and then made the cuts wherever they needed to be. But on the or said you saw it, the vanity, I did just like what you're saying, full overlay, frameless.
But I I like the look. It all depends on what look you want. Now, the one thing I don't like are face frame cabinets. I just think it's a lot of extra work for nothing. And
well, just like Jason said, I think it's there to help hide mistake. Like it's really like if your cabinet's out of square, it's really easy to correct it with a face frame.
Yeah. Or
to hide it with a face frame.
You also don't have to edge band anything. That's probably what someone's like, I don't want to take the time to edge band it, so I'll just make a face frame for it. And the hinges are easier to install.
What?
The hinges on a face frame door are quite a bit easier, I would say. Well, I wouldn't say quite a bit easier, but
depends on the tools.
For the person who doesn't have a lot of experience, they're going to look at it as easier because they can put the hinge cup onto the door and then they just hold the door up like this and then they're like screwing it in. But once you use European style hinges and you understand it, those are actually easier. But somebody that's using face frame doors, they don't want to go through that learning curve of, okay, what's my offset need to be? How far does this hinge plate need to be from the front of the cabinet for inset versus overlay versus whatever, even though there's documentation out there that shows all of those things. But think about it in terms of like somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with that. They're going to look at that and go, oh, all I have to do is drill my hinge hole and then I can just attach this to the face frame. This is easier. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that might be one of the things that is an allure. Oh, I don't have to edge band, but I still have to make a face frame. They don't think about it like that. Oh, I don't have to use hinge plates. I can just glue, or I can just screw this directly to the face frame. So they're associating those things with an easier task.
Interesting.
Very.
I always found face frame hinges were 10 times more difficult than frameless.
Now that you know and you've experienced frameless hinges, absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I think we beat that one up. I liked that question. I was really glad I saw that one. So Ben, go ahead. What's your first one?
All right. So this one comes from Jennifer from Virginia.
I know a Jennifer in Virginia.
I know a Jennifer.
And she asks,
she's part of my
risque question.
Page.
You're actually going to ask this question.
What's something you can say in the wood shop, but also the bedroom? Jason,
who wants to go first?
Let's see what you got, Jason. You have the dirt.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
That's not where this goes.
That's pretty weak.
What's yours, Ben?
Hey, Sedge, give me that happy sock.
No. What was yours?
What, mine?
You got no. What was yours again, Ben? Give me that happy sock.
What's something you can say in the wood shop, but also in the bedroom?
Nice finish. You like that, huh?
That's a good one.
That was good. That was good. All right.
Hey, why is this crooked?
Nice wood.
Hey, give me that clamp.
You're supposed to screw that.
Oh my God.
Can you clean up my spooge?
Oh my God.
Can we keep going on this? All right.
Oh my God.
Said you're up. Next question. Thank you, Jen, for the disgusting, dirty question. Now I know why you're with Ben.
Yeah.
Said you're up.
Okay. Another one from Patrick from Leather by Dragonfly. On your planes, do you prefer a York pitch or a middle pitch?
I didn't even know what the hell this was. I had to look it up.
Neither do I, so this is all you, Sedge.
Okay, a York pitch is 50 degrees. A middle pitch is 55 degrees. And the reason, your typical hand plane, like I'll just take my Lee Nielsen 4.5. That's a 40. The frog is pitched, or it pitches. The frog is pitched at 45 degrees. That's your typical bench plane. Okay, so Well, I'm just gonna do it like this. And it puts your blade like this. Okay. So say you're doing difficult grains, a York pitch or a middle pitch will pitch the blade at a higher angle, 50 or 55, for difficult wild grains to prevent tear out. Now, to answer the question for Patrick, I'm going to take out my pods. Sorry about hesitating on this. All my bench planes are 45-degree pitch, the frogs in there. But if I get an experienced wacky grain, I use either this one, which is a 212 scraper plane. And this blade is pitched. This blade is pitched at either, it's a variable pitch. I can go from either 75 to 100. And that's a Lee Nielsen small scraper.
It's almost like a card scraper.
Yes, exactly. But the difference between a scraper plane and a hand scraper is when you're scraping, you can scallop your wood by scraping, okay, because of the way you bend the scraper.
Yeah.
Here you have a flat bottom, and this is an old Stanley 112, and this is a big scraper plane. So depending on the size of wild grain, the grain, what's Jason doing?
He's so bored. He's so bored.
No, I leaned back on my miter saw and it popped the thing. Anyways, wow, that was weird.
Jason could give two craps about hand planes.
And oh God.
No, it's
Patrick.
It's
I wanted
honestly
to answer that for you because
no.
I
Hold on,
know
Sedge.
you like hand planes.
No.
Like I do.
No, I know you guys. That's not what it is. I have to keep moving around because Sedge, I went to Ale Emporium tonight with Nicole for dinner.
That ain't
And
Right. Don't throw that on me.
I had pizza.
Oh.
And I am like overly stuffed right now. That's why I keep like moving around. So it has nothing to do with your question.
Oh my God. Huh. What kind of pizza you get? What kind of pizza you get?
The Supremo.
Yeah, the thin crust?
I didn't. I couldn't remember if I ever got thin crust. So I got the regular crust, and I'm like overly stuffed right now. That's why I'm like moving around. But no, going back to the plane, because I've never, what number plane is that? Because that's a plane that I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's a Stanley 112. And Lee Nielsen makes a 112. All right, it's a big scraper blade, big sole on there to scrape with. It keeps it dead flat, and this is a 212. It's just a smaller version.
So a 112 and a 212 is the same thing. One's just smaller than the other.
Yep, and the 212 is a smaller version of the 112.
I gotcha.
The 212, I mean. The 212 is the smaller version. Cool.
Interesting.
So that's how I use a hand plane or scrape difficult grains in wood. Say it's curly maple or bird's eye maple, whatever, quilted walnut, whatever.
So
it helps prevent tear out.
So that's okay. So that's only though for woods that have really gnarly grain.
Yep, and if I want to do a final scrape on something too to give it a really nice cut.
Or if you know that something is going to be like the species is going to be prone to chip out.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So hopefully, Patrick, that answered your question. Leather by Dragonfly.
Yeah.
By the way, have you guys been following Leather by Dragonfly on Instagram? I love Patrick in the show.
Who's Leather by Dragonfly?
Oh, stop it! Do you know who they're building aprons for right now?
Yeah, Rogue Fitness.
Rogue, they're welders, dude, in their welding department. Oh my God, I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, another great Ohio company.
No, I believe Patrick sent that question in because he knew you would be the only person to have anything to say about it. And that's his way of like getting, jabbing at Ben and I. Like, oh, these young bucks don't know anything about hand tools.
100%. That's what I thought when I saw it.
Back when I was riding my dinosaur using my hand planes. Thanks, Patrick.
I just bought a chisel.
You guys are awesome.
Michelle's the greatest. Patrick is just okay.
I just bought a chisel the other day. That's the only.
He's a Marine.
What'd you get?
Oh, just some crappy cobalt thing from from like Lowe's or Home Depot. I routed out the place for it was an inset door handle for Jen's door.
Yep.
And so I needed to square up the corners. So that's the only reason why I bought it.
All right, let's see. So I've got the next one. This is going to be a good one too. Perfect people to ask this question to. This is from a question from Instagram at the Wood Lab Woodworking. And he or she asks, what do you find more useful? A solid MFT3 setup or a good miter saw station?
It's a very easy question to answer.
Yes. So let me answer this.
So very simple.
Honestly, I don't think you can compare the two. My answer would be the solid MFT surface.
Yep.
And the reason that is because I can literally do everything that I need to do on my MFT assembly table, as where the miter saw station, your stuff on the left and right is only there as support, period. And you're making, 90-degree cuts, 45s, miters, compound miters, whatever. But you're limited to that, and you're limited to 12 inches unless you flip the board and do all that other crazy stuff. I think you can get a lot more done, and your options are much, much more large by having a setup like this. That's my personal opinion. I literally will break down all cabinet parts on my assembly table, utilizing a track and a fence and everything else, and I can't do that on the miter saw. So the reason I say that's not really a fair comparison is because the miter saw station is very specific for one thing: storage, along with supporting your workpiece to the left and right of the blade, period. That's all it's there for. As where an assembly table, a solid MFT surface, it is a multifunction table that has an endless amount of use cases. So yes, the MFT surface work area, I would, if I had to build, if I had to pick the one most important thing in my shop, it is exactly where I'm standing and recording this podcast right now, which is my assembly table. That's my answer.
Sedge?
Ben?
Oh.
No, I said Ben. It's my question. I said Ben.
Yeah, I mean, and Sedge can correct me on this, but just about anything that you can do angle or bevel wise that you can do on a miter saw, and I'm thinking the Capex because that's what I have, you can do on the MFT3. With the only exception is maybe like a 47-degree cut, because I don't think that the 75 or the 55 can do it.
Yeah, they can.
Oh, they can. So I thought it was like a 46. But yeah, like if gun to my head, I only had to pick one, or I could only get one for now, 100% the MFT3. That's what I had when I rebuilt my shop. That was the very first thing that I bought, was the TS75 and the MFT3. You can get so much done with just that. Like you can't clamp down anything with a miter saw. I can clamp down things to an MFT3. I can work hand tools on an MFT3. I can crosscut. I can rip. I mean, it is such a versatile system in a woodworker's hands that hands down MFT3.
Sedge, before you answer this, the way that I'm actually taking this question, especially after the way that Ben just answered that, is I'm taking this as I have an opportunity to build one of the two things. Which one would be most beneficial to me? Mm-hmm. And obviously, Ben and I are both on the same sheet of music when it comes to this. And
I was going to do devil's advocate here and say that unless you're a trim carpenter, obviously a miter saw is much more versatile and useful to you, but they're asking us, right? Or this person's asking us. Right. So that throws that argument out of the equation. Sedge,
what do you think?
So the way you worded that, Jason, I would say I would start with an MFT3 setup.
Yeah.
It's very versatile, but it's also a great workstation with all the dog holes and V groove system and the extrusion where you can lock things to it, you can add to it, you can make things for it. It's a very versatile table. This is a tough question because I'm getting ready to do a Festool Live this fall, Capex versus MFT3. I can't believe I saw this question. And it's width of cut is what it boils down to. What's the difference? It's the width of cut. That's because you get 12 inches with your straight cross cut with your Capex, like any 10-inch, 12-inch saw. The MFT, I mean, you can go gangbusters with it, and I just showed how to connect tables the other day. You know, it's so versatile, it's ridiculous.
I love and I have a video about this, is putting the Capex trimming attachments on the MFT3. Like you can triple your crosscut length when you do that. Like I saw the video that you just did, Sedge, with Big D on that, and like what I especially love about putting the trimming attachments on the MFT3 is if you set up the guide rail, if you set it the distance properly, you can incorporate the flag stops, the measured flag stops on the trimming attachments. And it is so accurate. You know, as long as you account for the width of the blade. Oh my God. I absolutely love that in my shop.
And it doesn't pinch for kickback if you put it in between there?
No. No.
See, going back, I'm like looking at the question again, and that's, what do you find more useful, a solid MFT3 setup or a good miter saw station? I'm just taking that as he is definitely asking, like, if I could build one right now, which one would be more beneficial? So I think we answered that question for sure, but 100%.
Yeah.
Especially when you take the MFT and you do like I did, which it was not my design. Matthew Byington is the one who I got the inspiration from, but, you know, removing the legs and putting these things on a solid surface, like, I mean, you guys have both been in my shop. Like, this thing's not moving anywhere.
No.
It's not going anywhere. It's like super solid. So that takes out any argument of like, well, it shakes around a lot, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, like, this doesn't shake around at all.
Like
it's a great setup.
To me, that is such a useless argument to say that the MFT3 shakes a lot, because, you know, if you're doing woodworking properly, you're going to secure your material down to the table. So it doesn't matter if the table wobbles a little bit, because everything is anchored to the table. It's like saying it's like saying that you know, I'm trying to think of a really good analogy about moving. It's like saying that having furniture on a ship is a bad idea. It's like everything is already moving. It's attached to the thing that's moving. So
that's funny. I like that.
I was going to say, that was actually a really good analogy.
That was actually furniture on the ship.
Like, it is, like, I mean, I have the stabilizing, the braces on my MFT, which does make it a little bit more rigid. But, I mean, I've, you know, and Jason always tells me that this is always a weird flex, but this is my second MFT that I've purchased.
Oh, Jesus.
And, well, I'm just saying, if I
joking.
felt like, I'm tired of you pushing me and doing this, Jason. Trevor, give me a Kleenex.
Yeah. Trevor.
But you know, like, because I do a lot of research for the videos that I make, and I'm always involved in the community, and that's one thing that people bring. Oh, it shakes a lot. Well, it doesn't really matter.
That's just
like, it's secured
Ben,
down to the
here's
top.
what it is.
It's so
hey,
stupid.
Sedge, how much does an MFT3 cost? An MFT3?
Oh, I don't know.
$800?
I'd have to look it up. I get all mine for free.
I'm gonna look it up.
I think they're just throwing them out in the trash.
They're $735.
$735. The reason people say that is because they're saying, I'm paying $735 for this table, and it shakes around all over the place. Like, shut up. First of all, it is it's designed to be taken to a job site. It's designed to be mobile. Period. It's got legs that fold up. It's not going to be 100% sturdy. I don't care what company it is.
So I found this new YouTuber who does all Festool stuff, or at least at the moment.
Fence Woodworking?
No, that guy's a dirtbag. but I want to say it's
got a few
Dojo
more
Shop.
subscribers than you do.
Dojo Shop.
Is that a silver?
Jason,
Oh, I'm sorry. What are you talking behind me? I'm sorry. I just
that
thought
something happened to that in October.
I apologize. I just thought that was a weird glare from my amazing lighting in my awesome shop with all of my Festool products. My bad. It's a silver play button, everybody.
So anyway, so this guy Dojo Shop, I want to say that that's the channel name, but he was saying in one of his videos about the MFT3, and when it comes to the price point, which is just what you said, Jason. Why would I pay for this? Like, you're not paying for a table, you're paying for the engineering that went behind it, and you're paying for the thought that went into it. Like, I absolutely love that almost all of Festool's surfaces are exactly 900 millimeters. I love that because it means that, like, I can take my trimming attachments for the Capex, I can put it on my MFT3, I can put it on my router table, I can put it on my my Capex with the MFT Capex, I can put it on my Conturo stand, I can put it everywhere. So you're paying for the system, you're paying for the ecosystem that comes with Festool. You're not just paying for a table. I think it's a ridiculous argument.
I agree. Let's go ahead and I think we answered that one pretty well. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Ben, I think you're up.
This is one that all of us can comment towards, which is, how would you recommend starting a YouTube channel? This is coming from Pallet Furniture and More on Instagram, and the very easy answer is to just start.
Yep.
Just do it. Like, you
start messy.
You have an Instagram account, so there's a large assumption that you have a smartphone. That's how I got started. That's how Jason got started. If you're Sedge, you have this big, huge crew that just follows you everywhere.
Slave laborers.
But no, Sedge on Instagram, he
must be nice to do 2 videos a week.
But no, just start.
To answer this question, and I'll just point something out. I started 4.5 years ago on Instagram at Festool, and I started Festool Sedge. And I have still to this day, I have no clue what I'm doing, but it's all done on my iPhone. It's most of the time, it's one take. And you know what it is? It's you, and I'll speak to Pallet Furniture and More. Just start it. People want to hear from you. They want to get to know you. Be authentic. I'll say it 100 times. Don't just get out there and start putting content out there, because people want to hear from you. That's the name of the game. You think you have
100%.
something to offer? Offer it, because guess what? That's where it goes viral. People are sick of slick. They want to be part of something. And that's how and now I'm doing the Sedge tool because everybody was asking me, hey, how do you sharpen? Hey, how do you set a hand tool? How do you do a cabinet scraper? How do you use a handsaw? And I do this on the weekends at Sedge Tool, and I'm just having a hoot with a couple of my friends who I'm teaching woodworking to. And you know what it does? It inspires those 2 guys who are my business partners here on the weekend. I heard Chris say this last weekend. He's our camera guy. And he said, man, I can't wait to get a house in 2022, 2023, because I'm learning so much to do, the DIY stuff around the house. To me, that means the world, because you're passing it on, and that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, pass it on.
So I've actually spoken to him quite a few times on Instagram. Him and I communicate pretty openly back and forth through DMs. My first question would be, I have to echo what they're saying, but my first question would be, have you watched my Workbench Con presentation video on my YouTube channel? That's not a plug for my YouTube channel. It's that literally your question was my speech at Workbench Con in 2020. And to go along with what Ben was saying, like, you just have to start, period. That's it. You have to start doing it. The fact that you're asking that question makes me believe that you're interested in it. And I think the thing that people have the hardest time getting over is the idea of being on camera and talking to it. Well, guess what? Your first video is going to suck. It's going to be terrible. But it doesn't matter, because guess what? There's probably, 500, 10,000, who knows how many people out there that are in the same shoes you are right now, and that their videos would suck even more, right? And that goes along with what Sedge was saying. There is an audience for everybody. Whenever I talk to people and they're like, well, I want to do it, but it's too late. The platform is too crowded, whatever. No, it's not. No. It's not too crowded. People don't watch my videos because I have 100, plus thousand subscribers. They watch my videos because they like the way that I talk about things. They like the way that I explain things. Here's a really good example. There's an audience for everybody, and everybody can be successful on this platform. I just sent a message to Sedge and Ben the other night, and just out of curiosity, I typed into the YouTube search parallel guides, track saw parallel guides, and the top 4 videos were me, some other dude, Ben, and Sedge. So the 3 of us on this podcast made a video talking about the same principles and the same thing, and the 3 of us are all in the top 4 of those videos. That means that people are looking for stuff from other people. If somebody wants to go watch a really cool build video with cool cinematography, they're not going to come to me. They're going to go to Chris Salamone. They're going to go to KJ Sawdust. They're going to go to Jason Hibbs. They're going to go to these channels that make build videos very entertaining. Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to learn about cabinetry, maybe they will come to me. Maybe they will come to Sedge. If they want to learn about festival, maybe they'll come to one of us. Maybe they'll go to Ben's channel. There is an audience for everybody, because you'd be surprised, just because somebody subscribes to your channel doesn't mean that they're not going to watch somebody else's channel or that they don't know you exist. And I had a funny conversation with somebody a very long time ago who's actually been doing very well, a good friend of mine who's actually doing very well on YouTube now. And I remember having a conversation with him, and I'm not going to say who it was, but the conversation came up that they were looking at it like April Wilkerson has 1 million subscribers. That's 1 million people I can't get anymore. That's not the right way to think about it. Because once those 1 million people subscribe to that one individual, that doesn't mean that they're gone. That just means that those 1 million people are subscribed to her. They're subscribed to tons of other people. And why are they subscribed to tons of other people? Because there's benefits to every single person. People are watching your videos for you. Period. Now, if it's a newcomer, just give me one more second, Ben. If it's a newcomer coming to a channel, they may not know who you are. Your video is going to be the thing that gets them hooked on the style of teaching that you have, or the style of video that you have. So don't ever think that you don't have something to add, because I don't care if you have 1 subscriber, 10 followers, you're only building farmhouse furniture with construction grade lumber, or you're the most complex builder in the world, and you're making the most beautiful things using top quality tools. Every single person has an audience. And the more broad you are, the bigger that audience is. The more specified you are, the narrower that audience gets. So you just need to understand that. So that's all I have to say about it.
So right now, and I wish that your name was on your Instagram, because I'm looking at it right now, and this is for pallet furniture and more. You 13 weeks ago, you bought a dust extractor, a Festool dust extractor. Looks like a 36 maybe, or a 26. And you bought the DF500 Domino. You have so much content potential sitting in those 2 products right now that this is a realization I had about a year ago whenever I started my channel back up, my woodworking channel. And I had to start over from scratch. And I had this realization that when you have something that someone else doesn't, and they're curious about whatever that is, or they're wanting to know more, your perspective has value that other people are wanting to see. So it doesn't have to be this big, huge, fancy, just like Jason was saying, it doesn't have to be this cinematic or visually interesting video. You just need to share your perspective with the depths of the internet, because there is someone right now, Pallet Furniture and More, that is trying to find out as much information as they can about the DF500. And I guarantee you that they have watched these big channel videos that pretty much all talk about the exact same points, right? From their own like very narrow perspectives on this one tool. Maybe it was just out of their entire channel of content, they did one video about the DF500. Whereas you can make, if you made 10 videos about the DF500 about different things, different uses, or how you use it, or what your thoughts are, maybe one's an overview, maybe one's a review, maybe one is how to do mid-panel plunges, maybe one's how to do in-grain plunges. Like, you have so much value in your perspective to make so much content off of these two tools. Because people are searching for this thing. Like, go into YouTube in the search bar and type in Festool DF. And then it's going to complete. It's going to do an autocomplete. And whatever words come up for that autocomplete in that search bar, that's the terms that people are using. Make that a video title. And I guarantee you that people are going to watch it.
It'll say
Go ahead,
Sedge.
Yeah. Well, let me add something to that real quick. So let me this is a really good example of what you were just talking about, Ben. Sedge and Ben, tell me how many times, if you were thinking about buying a product, tell me how many times you went to YouTube and searched a video on that topic real quick.
Every time.
Okay. Now, from that, how many of you only watched the first video and then made your decision?
Oh, no.
Exactly.
5, 6, 7 different perspectives.
Exactly. That is why it doesn't matter how many videos there are out there.
And I stay away nowadays from the videos made by the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. I go to the people who
users.
own it.
Yeah.
To the users. I go to people who, and I'll listen to them for a few minutes. I may not watch the whole video, but man, if somebody seems really authentic and just so, and I'll use the word genuine, it's the same thing. I want to listen to that person. I love it when I see them make mistakes and do,
You're welcome.
Drink White Claws and stuff like
that.
that.
My videos are great. You're right.
They are, Jason. I agree. I think they're fantastic.
Now, unless
people want to compare.
Here's to toot my own horn.
I love the ones
if they watch my
compare a bunch of them.
Yeah, if they watch my video, Sedge, that's the only one they need to watch. It's perfect in every way. I mean, again.
Shut up, Jason.
I don't know how to comment on that.
I love you guys. This is the best podcast ever.
And more.
People want to see
you. To close out your question, how would you recommend starting a YouTube channel? By doing it. Like, you're in the military. You're in the military, or we're in the military. Like, Jason and I shouldn't have to tell you this. Just stop being lazy and just do it.
Yeah, why don't you go grab your 2-quart canteen and meet me outside of my shop? 30 minutes, chump. Yeah. Just kidding. Is he in the Army? Was he in the Army?
It looks like he is.
Yeah.
I think he's.
So he knows what a 2-quart canteen is.
Yeah, I think he's stationed.
Yeah, go smoke yourself. Yeah, just do it. Just do it. I think, Sedge, you're up next. And we talked about this. You kind of knocked out 2 things. I wanted you to address that last question that was on there about the sharpening.
Oh, okay.
If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read the question for you?
I got it. What sharpening system for chisels, etc., do you have or recommend? And that's tough because my whole life I've been sharpening flat. And that's how I taught you, Jason. That's how I taught Big D. I got a video out there. It's called Wicked Sharp on Sedge Tool.
That's why I thought this would be a good one for you to answer.
Yeah. So, like I said, this summer, I've always wanted one. And I had some stuff with heavy nicks in it. And I went and bought a Tormac. And here I am. I work for Festool, Everybody looks and sees the price of stuff. and they go, oh, and then all of a sudden they get it and they go, oh, now I understand it. Worth every penny. The Tormac, it's worth every penny. I recommend it. And it's like Festool. It's a system. You got to understand it, and you'll go, oh, okay, I get it. You just got to get over that, I'll say it, over that nut of the price. It's worth every penny. But like anything, guess what I did? I went to YouTube, and I watched some of the videos. And they got a great owner's manual on it. This is, by the way, I'm not sponsored by Tormac or anything like that. I just, I like really good tools that perform. And,
Sure.
Just like all my clamps. I have Bessie clamps that are 30 years old. I love them, and I believe in good tools. Like my turning tools are easy wood tools. They work, but for sharpening, yes, like I said earlier, if I don't have to take out nicks or regrind the bevel because it's got a bow in it, I call it a bow. Some people call it, it's rounded. I'll just take it to my strop, because I'm just trying to get that quick burr on there or just take off a burr.
Right.
But the Tormac, here's the other kicker. I just got a Japanese stone for the Tormac, and that Tormac Japanese stone is 4,000 grit. And the mirror finish I'm pulling off of there so quick is unbelievable.
Well, I think let's talk about the Tormac for a second, because the Tormac you could equate to, it's just like any other tool, right? You spend more money, it makes a process much simpler. And another good example of that is, can you do what a domino does without a domino? Yes. It's not as fast, and the results may not be as repeatable. Yep. But then you buy a domino, and then the results are fast and repeatable. Same thing applies to sharpening. The way that you taught me, and I'll kind of go into my answer, if you don't mind, Sedge. I never sharpened a single thing in my life, and you were nice enough to teach me how to do it using sandpaper and a piece of granite. And so, now I understand that. Is that as fast as using your Tormac? Absolutely not. Can I get really good results with it? 100% yes. Mm-hmm. So it's just like any other tool, right? If the results that I get, my chisels have never been so sharp than when you taught me how to sharpen that stuff using sandpaper and a flat surface. Mm-hmm. So it is totally feasible. It's just you need more time to do it. Or you can spend more money and save yourself that time for the rest of the time that you're a woodworker.
Yep. That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
What do you think, Ben? Do you have any insight on the sharpening?
I literally wasn't listening to anything you guys were just saying.
No, I'm not surprised.
You don't speak.
He doesn't understand genius.
When he comes in October, he's going to bring that cobalt chisel for me to sharpen.
Yeah, he probably will. You should teach him how to sharpen it. And then he's going to just come and try to pick up a bunch of free festival stuff.
I had about
all of our hand-me-downs.
3 years ago, I had the Veritas honing guide sharpening system, and then I had the diamond plates that went with it. It is so cool to get a really sharp edge on a chisel or on a planer blade. But man, does it take a lot of work to do it, especially when you're doing it by hand. Oh my God. I was getting mirror finishes on all my bevels, and I had the strop and the compound and stuff like that. And I think it was Paul Sellers said that you should always spend more time sharpening your tools than you do trying to use them. And it's because if you have a really sharp chisel or a hand plane blade or a saw blade or whatever it is, it's going to make your work so much quicker, especially if you're a hand tool person. And it's like, I think he said, like, the more time that you put into making an edge sharper, the less time you have to spend using it.
And the reason people don't like hand tools, Ben, to interrupt, every time I've seen people shrug at a hand plane, it's because it's dull as heck, and also their hand plane is not set up properly. So they just think out of the box, it's honed and ready to go, and it's not.
No, definitely
It isn't?
Definitely not.
And who's Paul
Oh,
Sellers?
Jason.
Was he one of the Backstreet Boys?
Jason,
He has no idea, does he?
Was he a
you really
Backstreet
don't know
Boy?
who that is?
Oh
Yes,
my
I know who
God.
Paul Sellers is. I'm not
just
an
want to make
idiot.
sure. Well, I mean,
He
you're
was
an
the
idiot.
he was the founder of McDonald's. I get it.
Oh my God. FedEx.
I'm just kidding. I know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, like it. I mean, I had a few hand planes and I had a Chisels set, and I mean, it's just not my thing. So those Sedge has probably 500 hand planes.
Doesn't make me a bad guy.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, like I said, I really hated sharpening mine, but I was so glad that I did, because I mean, it literally is when you have a really sharp chisel, and it doesn't even matter if it's a hardwood, that thing is gonna cut through like butter. And it's so satisfying too when you plane an edge and you get paper thin shavings coming off of that thing. Obviously, depending on what kind of plane you're using, but that is a satisfying feeling when you are planing and it just.
He has one?
Oh my God!
He
it
has
still has
a hand plane?
it still has the shipping oil on it. So
It's
let's
a
not
Lee Nielsen. It's a Lee Nielsen.
Let's see.
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yep.
Dude, that's my favorite tool of all time.
Oh, this weekend we're coming up to your shops. I'm going to bring this so we can sharpen this blade
Okay.
on your Tormac.
Okay.
But I bought this after my first like really big project that I did, where I made like a really big profit from, and I was like, I'm going to treat myself. And I bought this, and it's got cobwebs growing on it, sitting inside of my drawer because I never use it.
Look at Sedge. Oh, it's wasted on the youth.
My
good.
God.
I think I'm up. Am I not?
I think so.
I sure am. Real quick, before I go into my last question, another question that Pallet Furniture and More asked about, I just want to highlight this real quick, because what about a YouTube video on how to use Instagram? I actually have a YouTube video on 5 different strategies for, 5 different tips for growing on Instagram. So definitely go check that out. All right. So my final question is woodshop. This is from at BRoberts121 on Instagram. Workshop air filtration. What do each of you have, recommend, and why? So I currently have the Powermatic unit, and Powermatic has 2. They have the traditional like box-looking style, and then they have more of the, tabletop fan-looking style, and that's the one I have, which you can actually mount to the ceiling, inverted, or set it on a work surface and all that. Excuse me. Prior to that, I had the Jet box style. Out of those 2, 100%, I think the Powermatic is a million times better. Do I necessarily totally believe in the effectiveness? I still haven't. I don't really have an answer for that yet. What I will tell you is that the Powermatic, if you're somebody that's creating video content, or you just enjoy being out in the shop and you don't want to listen to a bunch of dumb background noise, you do not have a better option than the Powermatic. It is extremely quiet, even on the most powerful setting. I almost don't even know it's on. Sometimes I'll leave it on for days because I forget that it's on. The other thing that I will tell you is that I just got done spraying a bunch of finish in my garage, in my shop, and if I look at the filter right now, I can look at it and it's white, which is telling me that it actually pulled in all of the overspray and stuff that's floating around in the air prior to going through that. Now it's just the dust, right? It's already been atomized, and it's by the time it gets there, it's just dust. But it is white, and so I need to clean that off. But it did a really good job of keeping the air being filtered in the shop while I was spraying the finish, and so that I will say is really good. Is it more expensive than the other options that are out there? Yes. Do I think it's better than the other options out there? from my experience, I would say yes. And the simple fact that it's way quieter than any other air filter that I've seen in any other shop. Do I run it very often? No, I do not. It is not on my shop. It is not on every time I come in my shop.
Should it, though?
It is.
Should it be on?
Should it be? Yeah, sure. I mean, that's what it's designed to do. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, people have always, I had the Jet and I used to run it all the time in my shop. And they're like, oh, I've noticed, a far smaller amount of fine dust sitting on my work surfaces and stuff. I've never realized that, ever. I haven't really put that to the test in this shop. In my previous shop, my dust collection wasn't nearly as good as it is now. So maybe that's probably why. But I just don't really know if it's necessary. If I'm doing something that is creating a lot of dust that I can't capture at the source, a lot of fine dust that I can't capture at the source, which is pretty uncommon these days, maybe I would run it. I did run it while I was spraying finish because I knew particles were going to be flying around in the air. I did run it as I was trying to get all of the dust out of my shop prior to finishing, so I wasn't kicking up a bunch of dust. Right, I'll blow my shop out with a shop vac or a blower or something like that, open up the garage door. I'll run that fan and I'll do it like 2 or 3 times until there's really nothing else going out. And I think that makes a difference. But I don't really know, because sanding, I'm not worried about dust at the source because I have the Festool sanders and I have the Festool dust extraction. There is no dust that's flying around in the room. My table saw, sure, that's still producing some. But it's like, that's the one event. My bandsaw, maybe, my dust collection is not collecting everything on the bandsaw. So I just don't know. I like having it in here. It clearly does work and does do a good job of collecting things out of the air. And the finishing is the proof of that. I just don't know if I'm totally sold that it's the answer to everything, because it isn't. Yeah. It's just not.
Sedge, what do you have to say?
I don't need any air filtration because I use the Festool system of tools.
Same here. I have a CT26 with a Cyclone.
Okay, moving on.
No, Let me comment on that. It sounds funny I said it like that, but I noticed in my shop in Fort Lauderdale when I started using Festool, I had less surface dust. I didn't have any air filtration down there in that 1,800 square foot shop. I didn't need it. I don't have any fine dust on top of anything in here, and I'm always in my shop. It's just because I capture everything at its source. Now, Jason, you remember when we were here turning the other day?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, we kicked up a lot of dust. I don't have dust extraction on my lathe, and that is when I noticed dust again. Because everything I have is just, and if I'm hand planing or hand scraping, that doesn't cause float, so I don't have that stuff coming down. And if I'm spraying, I spray right outside my garage door. Mary Ann hates it because I kill all the plants, but who cares?
Well, let me ask you this. What if you have to spray something in the wintertime? Where are you going to spray it?
Because of the climate here, I haven't had a situation where it's come up where I've sprayed inside the door. I've had a heater on, and I've just covered up stuff with plastic really quick.
Yeah.
Applying the oil, and I've been doing a lot of oiling. I did a lot of oiling last winter. I didn't need a sprayer, of course. And that didn't cause any problems.
Is that also a term that you would use in the bedroom and in the shop? I did a lot of oiling.
That would be correct.
Nice lathering.
That was a nice finish.
Heyo.
I would say, do you think it's B. Roberts or do you think it's Roberts?
That's what I was thinking. I think it's Roberts.
It's Roberts. It's Roberts.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Roberts.
It's B. Roberts.
It's Roberts. Yeah. 2 against 1. I would say that if you're asking because you're trying to find out whether you need to get it or not, I think that if you're concerned about it, you should probably just go ahead and get it. You should probably go and get an air filtration system, because at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt you to get it. If anything, it's going to help you, or help prevent anything wrong from, health-wise from happening. Just like Sedge said, I have a CT26 for the Cyclone. And so anything that I'm doing, I'm catching at the source, and I have not noticed unsettled dust or settled dust on any of my stuff that wasn't caused by something that I just used. And even if I am working in my shop, it's massive chunks that are coming out. It's nothing there. I'm usually never sweeping up fine particles. It's only big stuff that just isn't getting caught by the extractor. Jay Bates has a really good video. He made a shop-made air filtration system a few years ago, and I think that the only way that you can really tell about air quality is to get a micrometer and to have it monitor your air while you're working. And so, like I said, he has a really good in-depth video on how well it worked in his old shop. I don't know if he still has it running in his new shop, but
He does.
It's the shop-made one, or did he buy a manufactured one?
No, the one he built.
Yeah.
He was trying to talk me into building the one that he made.
Yeah, so I mean that's something
It's
that
crazy
I've considered.
powerful.
That's something that I've considered doing in my basement, just because whenever I renovate my basement, I'm going to be living down there, so my bedroom will literally be right next to my shop, and so that is something that I'm concerned about. But
If that's a concern, I would 100% tell you to build the one that he made.
Yeah.
Because that thing moves way more air than any single one of these machines that you can buy.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool.
All right, Ben.
All right, and this is the last one. How are you able? I'm sorry. This is from David MacArthur7 off Instagram, and he asked, "How are you able to buy Festool when I work 80 hours a week and can't afford to buy them?" Well, David, it doesn't matter how much you work, because it has no effect on me, and so I'm just joking.
Yeah.
That's just how he formatted the question.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of a joke question.
yeah. I'm trying to remember how much stuff I have now that I purchased new. I think I have 13 Festools right now. I want to say that maybe 2 of them I bought brand new, or maybe 3. Everything else I purchased used. So if you're finding yourself that it's hard to acquire Festool for a heavy price, I would encourage you to go to www.festoolownersgroup.com. They have a classified section, and people are selling Festool all the time. That's how I got my HL850. That's how I got the bench unit for it, how I got the angle unit for it. That's how I bought my Contura. Well, I got that off of Facebook Marketplace. But you can get Festool that is relatively new for not a whole lot of money, depending on who's trying to sell it. So, I would encourage you to look on your classifieds to find Festool. That's how I got mine.
Mr. Sedgley?
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, I don't really know either. My answer was going to be I stand on a street corner Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So that's how I make extra cash.
All the Festool I have here in my shop, and when I do Sedge Tool videos, it's all my own Festool. I've bought most of it full
Over
retail.
the years. Just over the years.
Over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years.
Over like the last 90 years, yeah.
Oh, geez, there we go. Yes, I use Festool every day. I'm a Festool trainer. I tell everybody, Festool's not for everybody. Mm-mm. But boy, once you buy that first Festool, you go, oh wow. And by the way, I'm that person 17 years ago. I walked into that marine store, the guy to buy lacquer thinner. I've told you this story before. And he showed me this track saw thing. And I said, what are you, crazy? $430? I went back and bought it. And it was the best money. And I went back and dropped, I think, another $5,500, $6K about a month later.
Yeah.
I bought it all full retail. I saw the value on it. And it's kind of like this new Tormac I have. It saves me time once you understand it. It's a system. And it's incredible. So I just want to say, listen, go out and buy one. You probably already have one, but go out and get one. And if you don't like it, return it in 30 days. Yeah.
Well, to be clear, let's make it known that the question was asked in kind of a joke form, right?
Yes. Yep.
He did put the LOL, so that definitely means he was laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's expensive stuff. For me, it's a no-brainer. I honestly, at this point, I do not care how much a Festool product costs. I don't. Yeah. And that's probably like the dumbest and worst thing I could ever say. I will never bat an eyelash at it, ever, because I know what I'm getting. Do I think some of the things are priced a little higher than they need to be? Yeah, small stuff like accessories, sure. Their tools themselves? No, not at all. Not even a little bit. And the way I bought mine is I'm in the Army. That's my full-time job. I was building custom furniture for clients. I put every dollar that I made back into my business. And as soon as I bought a Festool product, I realized how great they were, and I put every dollar back into that. And now I'm in a position, that I'm able to use all of these different tools and even try out some of the new stuff. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, everybody's financial situation is different. Mm-hmm. And I also stand on the street corner Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights.
Mm-hmm.
Jason mentioned it a few episodes back about which tool to buy next. And Jason said that you should buy the next tool you buy should be the one that's going to have the biggest impact on what you're doing now. And the very first Festool that I bought was a TS75, and that was based off of, like, I'd been looking at it for a while, and it wasn't until Jason and I had a conversation. I think he had just bought the TS55 a few weeks or months before then. And that was back when I was doing client work. And that when I bought the TS75, that was the first Festool I owned. When I bought that, it completely changed not only how much I was able to get done, but how well I was able to get it done. And for that one reason, and just like Jason said, unless something dramatically changes, I will never buy something else besides Festool. The only exception is if Festool doesn't make it. Mm-hmm. Because, again, I am, the first Festool you buy it for the tool. The second tool you buy from Festool, you buy it for the system. You buy it for the ecosystem that it provides.
That's a very good way to put it.
And, I mean, like, there really is no other way to put it. I would, like, Festool has saved me so much time in setting things up and trying to make sure things work properly. And I mean, just like you said, Jason, it is a no-brainer. Like, 100% I will buy things at Festool makes because Festool solves problems. At least they solve my problems. I mean, obviously they don't solve everybody's problems. There are people that vehemently hate Festool, and they have their own reasons. But for me, it solves my problems. So, David, and you said it in a joking manner, if you're working 80 hours a week, man, and you can't afford whatever your hobby is,
find a new wife.
Wow.
Look, you got three choices, David. Find a new brand.
Seriously.
Find a new job or find a new wife. Like, that's when it boils down to, that's what it is.
Simple solution.
And
we're just kidding.
Jen loves Festool too, by the way.
Today's sponsor is Festool USA. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And White Claw.
And White Claw. And Saw Stop. And whatever else we decide. Patreon, yeah. That's all the questions, isn't it, for tonight? There were
For
some
tonight,
other goofy
yeah.
ones.
Oh.
And there's some other ones that we really wish we could have talked about, but obviously we didn't have time.
I wanted to bring up this really quickly.
Okay.
I started World War III on Facebook.
I know.
Oh, man! I looked up the
I've been
stats
following along.
right before. Sedge, you know what I did?
Was that that post you did on table saw versus track saw?
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Track saw makes the table saw obsolete. Prove me wrong.
Festool North America.
Well, I did it on the Festool page, but I also did it on like the general the woodworking for beginners and some other Facebook groups that are like that are just, Festool is still the F word in those groups.
For sure.
And so I went on and I'll show you the picture of it. I said, track saws make table saws obsolete. Changed my mind. And so that's the picture that I put up. Just some guy using a random track saw. And I knew that it would blow up and it would explode, and it did. And to this day, so I posted that September 15th. 419 comments. And then 158 either likes or dislikes or whatever.
And that's just on that one post.
That's on that one in that one group. There,
Yes.
I posted it to multiple groups. I changed the picture.
Wow.
But I had just come out of an advertising class, and I was like, we learned about how much how conjecture works and like how polarizing advertisements really work and stuff like that. And I was like, let's see what this does. And man,
It's a good
and
test.
and some of the things that people are saying, they just don't know what they're talking about. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah, I read a lot of the comments when it was around the 150 mark.
Somebody said, "Can you even cut angles with a track saw?" And I'm just like,
Absolutely not.
I'm like, are you joking with me?
No, you
being
can't.
serious?
There's no way you can mark pencil lines at an angle.
There's no way you can lay that track in any orientation.
Nope. Only 90 degrees.
Anybody can say anything they want on YouTube and Facebook and social media, and anybody does.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, I didn't take heart to it or anything like that, but this is my current goal that I'm going to figure out. One was try making finger joints with it, and everybody mark my words. I'm going to figure out. I mean, there's a way. It's a track saw is nothing more than a flipped over table saw. Like, it's not that hard. All I need is a flat tooth blade, and I will make a box joint jig for a track saw.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to see that. That sounds wicked.
Yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't know where Jason went.
Huh. Oh. He
It's
just wants you to look. He wants you to look at that little YouTube silver.
The little silver play button.
Yeah.
Sedge,
Jason.
can you recommend a good flat tooth blade that would go with the TS75? Because you guys don't make one, right?
With the 75, no, we don't. We used to make a triple chip grind. That was the aluminum. Do you have any of the older blades? The aluminum cutter or the steel cutter that we don't offer at this moment anymore? The plastic blade is the red circled blade. We call it the plastic cutter. And that's a triple chip grind. It has a flat raker. Yeah, that's a flat bottom cutting one.
Is that for melamine?
No, it's recommended for plastics.
It'd work just fine on wood.
Yeah,
it would?
Yeah.
Any of the blades would work fine on wood.
Yep, let me look at that. When I don't have that blade here, but I got it at work. Let me look at it. I'll let you know. I think you can get a flat bottom with it, because I think it's a triple tooth. It goes triple chip tooth plus a flat raker, and it alternates.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we want to do the segment? Let me ask you a question real quick before we get into this part. Do you want to do the segment on a account that we want to recommend, do you want to keep that to the audience ones and forego the hateful comments?
Yeah,
Or do you
I want
to
to
still do both?
No, because I want to still make this about the community. So let's forego the everyone hates Jason segment, and we can quickly dive into our account recommendations.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. So the account that I'm going to recommend everybody goes and
hold on. Do you want to explain what it is that we're doing and how we're going to continue on with it moving forward, since this is the first time?
Yeah. So back whenever I had my old account, Valor Made Designs, every Friday I had a segment called my favorite follows, or like 5 favorite follows or something like that. Whatever it was. I would just recommend 5 Instagram accounts within the community that I found valuable, whether that's because they inspired me through their work, they educated me, or I just found them entertaining. And so those are the 3 pillars that I would just, all these different accounts, because Instagram was very different, 3 or 4 years ago.
I really enjoyed, that was one of my favorite things about your page. Even though I do want to make it publicly known that not one time did Ben ever include me in any of his 5 follow Friday things.
Well, Jason, if you ever do anything that really inspires me, educates me, entertains me, then I would. So,
well, I hold all the pieces of Festool that you want in my shop, and when you come, you could just go home empty-handed. I'm not bitter about it or anything, if you could tell.
Oh, I think I have some Imperial parallel guides that I need to get rid of.
Oh, like I care.
All right. Anyway, so this is and I do want to kind of bring this back into the fold. But again, these are accounts, whether on Instagram, YouTube, or any other platform that we kind of pitch these on, that we think that you should go and follow for just various reasons. So the account that I encourage everyone to go check out is called Kyle Seabree, and I've been following this guy for years now.
Can you spell that?
KYLLE SEBREE. He's based out of California. Makes a lot of mid-century modern furniture, but just incredible work. Like, I aspire to make furniture the way that this guy does, or at least like the cleanness and the minimalist kind of look that his furniture has. I mean, the guy is just incredibly talented. And like I said, I've been following him for years, and it's just I just love his style. It's incredible.
Wow, he's good.
Sleek lines. None of his furniture feels heavy when you look at it. It all feels very light. He uses a lot of hardwoods, a lot of maples, a lot of walnuts. I mean, it's just incredible work. And that is my
him right now.
Yeah, that's my follow recommend. That's my follow recommendation for this week. And like I said, exceptional content.
Yeah, that's impressive. Sedge, do you want to go? You want me to go?
You go.
Okay, so it's funny because as I was looking at his furniture, the person that I'm going to recommend is very, very closely related to him, and that is James Wesley Furniture. And he is actually in the military as well. I want to say he's Air Force. Yes, he is in the Air Force.
It's a good alternative to military service.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you wanted to be in the military, but you also kind of wanted to vacation for a really long time.
I don't want to really live a hard life, so I'll go.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I want to be in the military, but I also want to, go on my cruises, that kind of thing.
I also want to grow my hair out.
Yeah, exactly. I also don't want to have like any military discipline whatsoever.
Holy crap, man! I'm looking at a mitered. I mean, it's his first post that I can see. He did a mitered edge with pins. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, his work is.
I've been following him for years. He's fantastic. Wes is incredible.
Have you met him? Did he go to one of the Rubio
yeah.
events?
Yeah, he was at one of the Rubio events.
Okay.
And I was so impressed. He is one hell of a furniture builder.
Yeah,
that is some serious work.
Yeah.
It's just so funny, the account you mentioned, and I was looking at his stuff, and I'm like, man, this looks so similar to the style that he builds. Anyways, James Wesley Furniture, you guys, if you're not following, he has more followers than any of us on this platform. So I would assume that if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably familiar with who he is. But if you're not, definitely go check him out, because he does some really clean, really, really nice work.
That's somebody that
and he's military.
That's somebody that I would want to get
being in the Air Force.
When we start doing guest hosts.
I'm just kidding, James.
Guest appearances, that's somebody that I would definitely want to have on the show.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And he's a festival fanatic, which it seems like it in his videos, because he uses a lot of festival stuff. But so, I'm always down. If you don't use festival, you're never going to be on the show. It's not a threat.
That's
not a threat, everybody. I'm just saying that if you want to be on the show, you better go buy festival.
You better have your
but he does great work.
Hand.
Yeah, he does great work, and that's he's somebody I've followed for quite some time, and I really love the style of furniture that he builds. So definitely go check him out.
Yeah, man. Just looking at his page, really, really talented.
All right, I'm ready for Sedges, because he mentioned it before we started the show, and I never heard of it.
This guy is incredible. And you know what's really funny? I pulled up James Wesley Furniture, Wes's account, and you know when it says on there, followed by, it's people who also you follow. It's followed by this guy. His name is Russell, and I hope I get his last name right, Russell Kieselbach, or Kieselbach. And he's on Instagram and I'm going to spell it KIESELBACH Workshop, Kieselbach Workshop. He's a period furniture builder out of Hudson, Ohio. I met him at Hatfield Tool 2 years ago. And super duper guy. He's a great furniture builder. Wow. But he does some incredible pieces. And just recently, I look at all his posts. I like all of them. But he did that Philadelphia, you'll probably see that Philadelphia high boy he has in there.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
He's incredible. And he did something recently, I was following along. He did this massive piece that was a periodic, I think it was out of walnut, a periodic table of, the periodic table of elements, but he backlit it. He built it for a client, and it was just wicked cool. Really, really talented guy, and really down to earth. So give him a follow. You'll learn so much. Great hand tool guy, great power tool guy, knows his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the type of stuff that he builds is not, in terms of style, is not really my style, but I'm not saying that to take away from what he does, because I'm looking at it right now and it is truly impressive. Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the bonnet top post that he made, and that is like my brain can't really understand how he made that. Mm-hmm. It's a curved, mitered bonnet. Like I don't.
Isn't that cool?
Like I said, my brain cannot understand how he did that.
That's cool.
Looking at this, this is why I love woodworking.
Yep.
Is there are so many different disciplines that come into this, and it seems like people are kind of wrapped around specific styles, But I don't have to be into that particular discipline to appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
I was looking at a few other accounts that I wanted to recommend tonight, but I wanted to narrow it down to mine. But, looking at some of the things that people make, to me, it seems tedious. And I'm like, you would not threaten me to make this. Like, there's no way that I would even want to attempt to do this because of how tedious it looks. But holy crap, is it amazing to see people that are able to do this kind of work that, that I personally would never want to do, but it's so incredible that they have the capacity to do it.
Yeah. I'm really glad that we did that segment, and I've seen this on other podcasts before. Matter of fact, what was the podcast that they used to do that all the time? Where they would share an account that they follow. I can't remember at this point, but I really like that. I think it's really cool, and I just found 2 people that I didn't even know existed out there. And the reason why I think that's important is because there are so many woodworking accounts. Same thing applies to YouTube. There are so many woodworking accounts that don't even know that certain accounts are out there.
Yeah.
And you'd think it's like, oh, this person has this many followers or subscribers or whatever. Like, everybody knows who they are. Oh, no. Like, I've never heard of those 2 individuals, and their work is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show,
Those are the guys I really like because they're kind of like unsung heroes out there.
Yeah. That's one thing that's surprising. I'm glad you said that, unsung heroes. And I won't mention the other names because I'll save these for future episodes, but there's people out there that are doing such incredible work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And they don't have the audience, which they may not care. They may not be looking for that audience. But
they don't.
At the end of the day, more eyes should see it because it's beneficial to everybody.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with the followers, has nothing to do with the numbers.
No.
You can learn, you can better your craft by following those people. That's the name of the game.
And you might even discover a discipline that you didn't know existed, and now like it resonates with you, and you're like, holy crap, I want to learn how to do that. And that's like everything that both of you just said. That is the entire reason why I used to do that segment with my old business, because I wanted to expose these different ways of doing woodworking. Because back then Instagram was a much different beast. It was like everybody was in it to help everybody else, whereas when I look at it now, I just see a bunch of sponsored, and again, this is just my feed. I'm not saying it's indicative of everybody's feed, but it's like every post that I look at is like, oh, I'm so hot, and I know I just joked about it earlier, but it's like, oh, I'm so hot from building, whatever. Thank God I have this White Claw to help quench my thirst.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna mention the account, and Jason and I talked about this last week when it happened. But there's another really big account that's in the DIY space that did a Subway sponsored post. Like, what the hell does that have to do with making a table? Absolutely nothing. I mean, granted, I'm sure he got paid a crap ton of money, and if that were given to me, I would probably take it too, because that's my family that I'm feeding. No pun intended. Heyo. But that's what I see a lot of now. So to summarize that, I see less people willing or wanting to help other people in their posts by providing valuable content, and more of providing value to these bigger companies or whoever it is that's sponsoring them. I see the value going to them, not towards the audience.
Well, let me play devil's advocate there on that for just a second, just so we can be fair and clear. But, regardless of the type of ad that it is, companies are paying for advertising space, and that advertising space payment is based off the size of your audience and what kind of metrics you have. So at the end of the day, if Instagram is like that platform that you're kind of just utilizing for that purpose, like I do get it, but I also understand where people on the outside looking in, because I was there once, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was looking at it like that. So, there's reasons behind it, but I agree with you that Instagram really has kind of become that, but it also depends on what level you're at on the platform. So if you're at that level where you're being offered those things, I kind of understand that. I kind of get it, is where the people that are not necessarily being offered those things may not be able to fully grasp it. And they're trying to like, oh, I'm going to grow my business thinking that this platform is going to change my life. And in reality, like for me, for Instagram does nothing for me monetarily. Yeah. Nothing. And which is why I don't put as much effort and time into it now, because I just don't have the time to commit to it. But if it did, sure, I'm going to put that stuff on there. And I think that's what you're starting to see is it's coming down to, instead of just posting about it for the community like you're talking about, now it's like, oh, I have a sponsor obligation, I'll just filter it into Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, I said it. If a company offered me thousands of dollars to talk about a freaking foot-long sandwich, you're damn right I'm going to be pitching it. But I don't know.
I'm getting
No,
hungry.
No, I understand what you're saying. At the end of the
would-
day, though, when all of these accounts stop caring about the community, that when you were on, you remember everybody was trying to help everybody out. And then those big accounts, all of these accounts now, because everybody's getting into social media marketing, they're all pitching products because they know how important social media marketing is. Now it overshadows the community aspect because so many people are posting about it because there's money involved. So I agree with you. It's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
I thought that segment that you did was fantastic. And I kind of want to start doing that again. Tell me the last time you saw Follow Fridays.
Yeah.
That went away. It died
Absolutely.
because all the big names weren't doing it anymore. So everybody just decided to stop doing it. But for me, I agree with you. I want to get more eyes on people that are a million times better at woodworking than I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why am I special? Why do I need to get
Well, you're not,
special recognition?
so
I'm not.
let's not.
Right? I suck.
Let's not.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that table I just delivered fell apart the minute we walked out. You know what I mean?
It's got some nice fork marks in it, though.
Yeah.
Well,
But
Jason,
anyways,
didn't you pocket
I get what
hole
you're
the
saying,
top
Ben.
though? Didn't you pocket
Of
hole
course.
all the?
How else would you
Okay.
build? How else would you glue up a tabletop, Ben?
I just wanted to make sure.
Come on.
And did
Yeah.
you wipe off the walnut stain?
I did for the most part. There's some blotchiness in some places,
Okay.
but what is.
Okay. I just want to
It
make
was
sure.
premium. It was premium kiln dried studs from Lowe's.
Okay.
Came out nice.
Yeah, it came out really nice.
Premium pine.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Anyways,
Cool.
guys, we're at 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Wow.
our longest one, but it was a community.
Which I'm okay with.
episode. Yeah,
I don't give a shit if we talk for 4 hours every single podcast.
You better deal with it, audience. You hear that? 4 hours. We're gonna make
My
sanding
favorite
enjoyable
podcast
for you.
is my favorite podcast, a short episode is 2 hours. Modern Craftsman.
That's a great
Usually they're
podcast.
like 3 hours long. I love them.
That was my first podcast.
I know, they broke your cherry. Hey, another thing
Well,
you could say in the
I
shop.
had-
Could you? No?
Yeah. Nice cherry.
That's true. Nice cherry. I broke your cherry. No, you could say I broke your cherry. I could have dropped a cherry board and it could have broke. I broke
That's
your cherry.
something that you can say in the wood shop and you can say in the bedroom.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
You can.
Yeah. That's blotchy cherry.
Sorry, I broke your cherry. What? Anyways, let's wrap this thing up. No,
Yeah,
the world
I think
hates
we need to-
Jason
I
on
think we
these
need to be
episodes.
done.
I'm getting giddy.
All right.
No, it was good. That was a really good conversation. I like this. I like
right.
this episode.
We just wanted to thank everybody that submitted questions and comments for us to read on this episode. Again, this is something that we're not going to do all the time, but you can look forward to this. And it's looking like episode 12 will be the next time that we do a community-led episode. So thanks everyone so very much. Thank you for all the positive reviews and the critique reviews that we get and comments that we get. We're always looking to make the show better. But yeah, just thanks to everybody that has helped us get to this point to where we're at with this podcast. We enjoy making it. We enjoy that other people enjoy it, and we look forward to making more episodes. So with all that having said, Sedge, where can everybody find you?
Okay, you can find me at sedgetool.com, at sedgetool on Instagram, at sedgetool on TikTok, at sedgetool on some other places, Facebook, Twitter. Okay, but also at Festool Sedge, Festool Live on Fridays at noon, and a new podcast, and we're posted on YouTube and Apple, and also on Spotify, Festool Shop Talk.
Jeez, okay. That's a lot of places.
Hey, Ben, from now on, can you please do me and you first and then do Sedge?
I can edit him out. I'll edit him. I'll cut it after
Edit
the first
me.
thing he said.
Whatever.
I don't know why you pick him every time. It's just like everyone's going to listen to that and be like, look at these chumps.
Oh,
Jason.
man.
Jason, where can everybody find you?
At Ben's Woodworking on Instagram and Ben's Woodworking on YouTube. Or benswoodworking.com.
Yep.
Done.
And you can
Thanks,
find
Sedge.
me on YouTube or Instagram at Ben Marshall Designs. You can also find this podcast on anywhere that you listen to podcasts, wherever you're listening to it right now. However, we prefer you to go to Patreon. If you want to get early access to these shows, you can only get it done on Patreon. If you want to watch the entire video of this podcast, you can only see it on Patreon at the $3
Yeah, stop being a bunch of freeloaders.
Yeah. Communists.
Oh,
All
How
of you.
hard is it to donate a couple of dollars a month?
$3. That's all it costs.
We just spent over 2 hours answering
my
your
God.
questions.
you guys are a trip.
Unbelievable. Hey, how many
You
patrons do we have?
ungrateful, ungrateful
let me check
people.
Patreon.com. It's hold on. Green Suitors. I've searched it so many times it automatically comes up in my thing. We're at 21. Nice.
That's right. We're doing good.
Wow.
That's
Thank
almost
you
as much as
very
my
much,
channel has.
Patreons. Thank you very much.
Can I clarify something, Sedge?
Yes.
They're not called Patreons.
They're called patrons.
They're called patrons.
Patrons. Okay, but isn't the website Patreon?
It's Patreon. It's to show your patronage. But they are
patronage. but not
Patreons.
Patreon. It's not patronage. It's patronage.
Thank you for being patrons on Patreon.
There you go.
There you
You
go.
got it, buddy. You got it.
There you go.
All right.
you go.
Thank
You
you
have to-
guys so much.
Excuse him, everybody's old.
I'm still working on MySpace page.
Yeah. The Green
Bye,
Suitors
everybody.
MySpace. Check it out. Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye. Bye.
Hey, this has been co-host and editor of the Green Suitors podcast. This episode is over, but if you want to hear more topics like this and you want to be a part of our conversation, head over to patreon.com/Green Suitors podcast for early access to each show. If you're listening to this on free feeds, be sure to leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.